Alright. Time for, trying to dismantle LF's operation.
Yes.
Okay, according to my calculations, this is the optimal location to launch the RC car. With the
Since Penelope is missing, Bentley will be back in handling the RC vehicles for the time being.
Uh-huh.
Looks like he's headed for the prison. Time to get rolling.
Okay, time to have a stealth mission with the RC car, actually. Because you need to actually get behind LF to listen to his conversation, but you need to pass the guard. So you need to apply a very convincing disguise, as in a chicken rubber glove, in order to pass under the light. The catch is that when you're applying the disguise, you move very slowly. So you need to essentially time right, your disguise and then your running speed.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, Peter McConnell decides to have an 80s move team, I guess. Like this is not
so.
Lupin. This is not Lupin the Third. I'm sorry.
Though, come
Also,
to think of it, I could so see Sly Cooper being Lupin's persona.
I mean, the whole gentleman thief shtick applies almost unanimously to as a kind of an state archetype. So
Even this magnificent prison pales when compared to my new statue fortress.
New statue fortress? That must be where he's hiding out all the time.
Nobody would guess the Palace Gate switch is actually under the bridge.
I sure do love expositing to myself like this.
To be fair, even Rajan kind of did that in the second game when they placed the bug in his office.
Wasn't he also a tiger?
Yes, I guess that's the joke.
So this franchise suggests that tigers love to exposit to themselves.
And apparently they were not capable of swimming. Remember, that's what Bentley said.
Well, the logic is that they're feline too, so...
That's
Even
the
though
problem, Pedro.
tigers are
Tigers are
amazing
actually very
swimming.
good at swimming.
Yeah.
Interesting, because you'd think that we would see something like that in Life of Pi then.
I don't know what to tell you.
Fishing caves. Good thing I sealed them. My dragon gates are invincible, as long as that lazy guard doesn't get distracted by sushi.
Why do you need an inner monologue, my dude?
I guess he just feels very, very lonely.
And get some friends.
Get to the dragon gates. They'll never figure out the switches are inside the dragon mouths.
I'm
Very clever.
I'm rich. I can always buy friends.
Excellent. Keep slapping those big lips, sucker.
Yeah, even Bentley is like, why are you talking so much to yourself? Like,
I mean, what's the fun of being a cartoon villain if you don't gloat about your evilness?
But when you have nobody to gloat about it too.
I guess maybe he just
kinda
feels also
sad.
out of time. The game never really talks about this, but the idea of feeling time sick, like, it might be a potential plot point.
Maybe he just loves hearing himself talk.
It is kind of a shame that we don't
Huh?
really get to see Snap.
Chicken.
Now I just need to find that blasted Rioichi. I delivered the package to the boss.
Oh, what is this package, though?
It is kind of a shame that we don't often get to see how the bosses reflect on being thrust into a new, different
Okay,
time, or what they're really
I guess
gaining out of it.
technically
as much.
the one of the third chapter does, and by an extension also the one of the fifth. But hold on.
Greetings, Madam Geisha.
Huh. How sneaky and clever.
Mm-hmm.
My god, it's so dark I can't see a thing on it. Seriously, lighting in 7th gen games could be so hit and miss.
Sadly, we don't see the outcome, but just leave to your imagination.
They're getting
Poor
it
Murray.
on in there.
It's for the good of the team, Shiroi.
He's literally taking one for the
Taking one
team.
for the team.
We need to collect samples from those strange plants growing high on the cave wall. Commonly known as the spiky wall climber, it secretes a mild toxin.
So, like in any good... Now, since Rioichi was actually accused for poisoning his sushi, might as well actually try to do that since the guards that guard the gate, maybe fall asleep by ingesting an extra spiced up dose.
Allow me to show you how it's done.
Well, now at least I know where Sly gets it from.
Many generations later.
Well, the smugness does run in the family, that's for sure.
Villainous tiger.
Sorry, I just had to jump cut for, loading purposes. Occasionally you will also have some of these particular mice guards which spew poison that we saw in Paris. It will become more clear later on why they're also here and who are they working for.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to know is that they spray poison gas.
Dear.
Basically, the two plants are in the same cavern that Bentley Murray did use for fishing, but you just need to reach, there you go, through climbing on a rope here. Also, Peter McConnell, I guess, went on a vacation for this mission. Alright.
Okay,
Where we are now for his vacation, for his holiday.
It's perfect to go cave spelunking for ambivalent songs that are barely songs so that they can sound mysterious and whatnot.
I must strike the blossom to extract the poison.
Sure, yeah.
There we go. Although we need 2 in total before finishing. This is actually a very simple mission.
Yeah.
Will topple even the largest enemy.
Okay, forgot if I actually did mention it in the previous parts, but this new game actually does add a sort of a mini compass. If you're like lost, occasionally around the character there will be like a half circle with an arrow pointing in the general direction of where you're supposed to go. That wasn't actually in the previous games. But to be honest, you don't really need it. The game is pretty streamlined enough for you to see where you're supposed to go anyway. And sometimes the mission give you, put you in cramped spaces anyway.
I must strike the blossom to extract the poison.
You said that already.
There are a couple of line repetitions to be done, yes.
Let's say it again.
And there you go. Another thing that changes up a bit, the ancestors from, Sly, how we play, is the triangle move. But I'll mention later.
The intel we need. El Jefe has played dictator for the last time, and it's time
Hey,
to bring
because
us
it's in the
down.
future, now instead of photographs, we use...
We have a PowerPoint presentation
Special sushi rolls. The guards are out
done
of the
via Minority Report.
They'll need to gain access to the switches in their mouths.
Seriously, Minority Report was so ahead of its time because that tech tends to be used in movies even to this day still. Most noticeably the MCU.
Will need to distract the guards. Once they're occupied, Rioichi can make his way under the bridge to the switch and open the gate. Once we get that gate open, there's nothing stopping us from taking the palace and putting El Jefe in his place. Viva la revolucion!
Yeah, close enough.
So, now we go back to playing as Sly.
Well, Sly is to be the one that starts the mission, like Bentley's briefing did say.
Mm-hmm. when it comes to the bosses, I do wish we got to see more of what they're exactly getting out of each of their deals as opposed to just this generic, oh, they went back in time to do this, and that's pretty much it.
To be fair, some of the villains do have a bit more motivation, and Jefe is just there for the sake of fucking shit up, because that's like any good revolutionary PMC leader loves to just do that.
Which is funny because we're leading a revolution against his revolution, according to what
Clever.
Bentley said. I mean, granted, I will admit, there are some bosses where they do give more of a reasoning to what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the boss of Chapter 4. But all in due time.
Yeah.
What a clever system this is. Though Sonic would probably be able to ace his way through it. It's like when going up against that boss in Quartz Quadrant. Yes, Dr. Eggman. Use a device that uses a treadmill against Sonic. That is tearing down the platform that you're standing on yourself.
That being said,
He
Jova.
was planning to work that sucker to death.
That being
Come
said,
on now.
That being said, Jova, which one is stupider, that one, or the laser
Fever.
the laser thing from near the end of Flying Battery, where he basically once again destroys himself as well.
Definitely the treadmill thing. At least with the laser, you could argue that could potentially work if he hit his target. The treadmill thing, though, being used against Sonic, it's like, no, you're literally just giving Sonic a workout.
His failure with the treadmill is how the plot of Sonic Labyrinth happened.
So what you're saying, Seroy, is that in Sonic Labyrinth, that treadmill would have actually been the greatest reason to use.
Probably. He just realized that using something fast wouldn't work for him, so speed down shoes.
Oh, looks like there is something else that is out of place. A gigantic blimp. Complete with its own personal ominous theme. Again, what does that particularly mean? It will mostly revealed around Chapter 3, actually.
And look at that, we have our party running behind us, Kingdom Hearts style.
Kinda, mostly because now the entire team has to do things.
Were you just waiting for us there?
Yes. So yeah, much like the plan suggested, Bentley, Marie, and Sly will have to deal with the goons on top of the bridge, while Rioichi will have to sneak under it.
Which I'm sure they won't see him doing, even though they were right in front of them.
He's a ninja, he can just do it, Joe. So yeah, you're controlling technically Mary, but it's basically, much like in the third game, in the bar, is an all-out brawl.
Mm-hmm.
The sad thing is that for the time being, you don't really have major power-ups for Mary's punches, so you just left with a very basic type of combos, but it's still fine.
I love how Murray...
I keep thinking the Sonic Unleashed music's going to play.
To be fair, no, the enemies are even relatively basic here, so... Also, I just stole something in the meantime, because why not?
A juice box. Also, I love how Murray's icon suggests that he's doing a Persona 5 cosplay.
Like I said, depending on the situation, the elf icon will actually reflect that if there are major changes. That's pretty neat.
I love how while Rioichi's going on, mooks are falling off the bridge.
Pretty much. Again, to represent the fight still going on. As a set piece, it still does the job it's supposed to do.
He's sad.
Again, that's one thing to remember. Sly and company, even though they don't always aim to kill, will kill out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that.
Sly Cooper and the gang are murderers!
Gee, Joe, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you're foreshadowing something.
He's been doing that a lot throughout this game so far.
Well, be patient with time.
Well, I do it too, so I can't really speak about it.
It's all about the payoff, Dwibs. I can't just go ahead and spout it off without it actually happening. Otherwise,
There
you
we
might
go.
not believe me half
If you
the
don't
time.
remember, actually, this particular type of contraption, similar to the one used for the gate, actually are from the first game. The rest of the trilogy did not have implemented it, but they actually bothered to bring them back.
What a lovely throwback.
There we go.
Speaking of being thrown back,
You know what? That's actually clever. Implementing a massage function into your chair.
Well, shit.
Oh boy.
And here's the one major plot point, what the villains are really after. Decays of Cooper's ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly, what does that mean? Well, that too actually will get revealed soon enough, but for the time being it's just, thing that's happening. Which, sadly, that means that only Sly can get against Jefe.
I need to deliver this puny stick to a new owner.
Thanks for announcing that.
El Jefe's getting away!
No shit, Bentley.
Don't worry, Rioichi. Watch after these two. I'm gonna kick some tiger tail and get your cane back.
If you remember, this upcoming sequence actually was the another one that had been shown at some of the presentations that included pieces of this game. The first one that was shown was the one that I mentioned got negative feedback because Sly's colors were all over the place. But otherwise, most of the movements, and structure and character dialogue is pretty much intact.
Are we in a John Woo film now?
Well, where are the doves?
Ooh.
He was just stroking one.
Oof.
And now he just murdered it.
Yeah, that's the thing, Joe, but that's a pigeon, not a dove. So.
Oh snap.
We'll see about that.
Oh no!
That's
He's
also-
ascending!
That's also another thing. There are a lot of sequences in this game where you get the idea there was supposed to be like an extra level, because the scene cuts immediately, in this case, to Sly just climbing up, instead of having us climbing the structure, like this. So you get the idea there was supposed to be something in between. There are actually a couple of other moments similar to this.
So basically the game at points feels a bit unfinished.
True, but not in the case of the missing pieces damage the entire product. It's just a thing that's still noticeable too.
Also, maybe it was the gold reflecting off of Sly, but he looked a bit brown crawling over the ledge of that building.
Take a nice long look. I want you to remember the one who crushed you.
Ow.
Right, yes, Mr. First Boss.
Run, El Jefe. Ready to face me now?
Sticking up for the family, eh, Cooper?
Well, I mean, considering how his life literally depends on it, yeah.
Oh, Cooper, you've climbed so high, and now you're gonna fall.
Get it?
There's also another thing. Okay, what is clearly trying, Nolan North is clearly not in his A game in this game. Let's just say that he's voicing also another character, and what is technically fine, it's pretty much clear that he's just probably doing it for the paycheck. Because, Nolan North is one of those voice actors that is kind of like a one-trick pony in a sense, that he can do accents, but not much inflations. The moment he starts screaming, you recognize him immediately, so there's not much difference in the type of voices that he does. Unless you get something very extreme, like say Deadpool, and even then.
Can we fight now?
You know something, Cooper? Your actions starting to annoy me.
Oh, don't worry. I have that effect on all cowardly crime lords. El Jefe. Isn't that Spanish for big?
Actually, it means the boss. Sly, you're very insensitive. Alright, the boss fight time, and it's not actually that bad. It's kind of like of a side-scroller. LF, for some reason, has his katanas imbued with some kind of magical powers. There you go, that changes between lightning and heat. As long as he has that heat around it, you cannot do anything until you can counter it with samurai armor, and then you can start laying the beat down. Again, for a boss fight, it's pretty neat, actually. As long as you have the samurai armor equipped when he's using the heat attacks, he cannot damage you, but the lightning attacks instead can. In the way it's composed, it's actually very similar to the Dingodile boss fight from Crash to Insanity. There we go. Okay. What I was saying before is that to give an example, actually, on a rule similar to this, was General Zod from Injustice Gods Among Us. London Northing, that sounds pretty much fine, but it's pretty much clear that it didn't, invest it too much, nor it was actually directed to sound that much different. If anything, is Rolling Speed Riding 3 is actually one where he seems to actually trying harder.
That's the thing, yeah. I was about to say, yeah, that's the thing. In Speedrunning 3, I wouldn't even be able to tell that was him, but unless I read the credits. So
I kind of could tell it was him because it sounds like, it sounds like his default Noah North voice. When he's like not doing something out there like Dr. Engine. The father in Speedrunning 3 sounds like Noah North's typical voice. He sounds enough like Nathan Drake. Like
I said, that in itself is not really a problem. That's usually the standard that voice actors go through. It's just that sometimes you can clearly hear when they're just doing it for the paycheck and not much more.
Now, anyway, in regards to this, I will say this. For as many problems as I do have with this game, I do appreciate the effort to try and make the costumes actually have combat capabilities, as opposed to just being there to look pretty, and of course.
And give you an actual disguise.
Yeah. So, kudos. They are.
And like I said, we even changed your elf icon too. Again, there is some kind of attention to detail, so.
And I will say this: with all the problems that this game does have, I don't feel like they were half-assing it. I do feel like there was definitely effort put in. Granted, that effort did not all pay off, and there are still drastic problems that I do not like. But if there's one thing this game is not, it is,
lazy.
Yeah, lazy, pretty much.
Like I said, I mostly attribute this to just misguidedness. Not so much laziness or malice.
Alright. You can imagine what that means.
He's a raccoon, though.
Don't you see, Joe? It's just like Sonic. We're rodents. We're the same thing. That's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Although at least Sonic corrected the bad guy about it.
Yeah, no, well, to be fair, Sly is a bit... Ha, very funny.
Ooh.
Sly is more, calm and composite. He knows when to push someone's button, but he will not, be pedantic just for the sake of it.
You got no chance, you ring-tailed rat.
I have to get Rioichi's cane back.
Alright, last phase. There you go. Starting from the second one, the slam down tank becomes that kind of area, so it's imperative at that point where you do use the samurai armor to actually absorb it. That's also another thing that I mentioned before, but the camera also manages to actually be consistent in how it's presented. It's how it placed behind you. So at the very least, you never get a situation where you feel like you're, too much, how to describe it? Something similar to what happened in the reunited trilogy of Spyro 3, doing that level with Sergeant Bird where the camera goes absolutely apeshit. Kind of think of it, Sanzero did supported Toys for Bob for that particular game.
Huh.
Alright.
Bunk.
There we go. Apologies in advance, but this is also another cutscene where the autosave fucks up the audio sync.
Okay, now get the cane.
Shit.
Just grab the cane. Don't just look at that, you idiot.
You've had ample time to grab the cane.
This isn't one. This is there you go. This is one of the problems with the writing. That Joe was saying sometimes the writer.
Convenience happens for its own sake, and it's not even just for this. The game at some point will even lampshade it, but remember what I mentioned. The time machine needs a catalyst to where it's supposed to go. You know, also sneak peek to our actual main villain. The time machine needs a catalyst, and the team will always manage to find the right catalyst that will bring it at the right time to thwart the main villain plan. Like in this case, the books conveniently drop a sheriff's badge that will lead our characters to the next destination.
It's like, oh no, I dropped the lift key.
See, here's the problem. It's because the way the time travel works in this game is very specific. You need an item, and that you need that to take it to you. Honestly, it would have been a lot more simple if they just made it a simple time machine.
There we go. At least Aleph is in prison, I guess.
Rioichi's cane, and we still had no idea who was really behind this whole thing. One thing was for sure: it was somebody powerful enough to have his own private army. We contacted
This could
Rioichi
be
for an
our
update
greatest
on
foe
his
ever.
progress, and it looked like
Definitely.
Tennessee Kid Cooper
Yeah,
was
next
our
up is the Wild West.
We needed to travel back
Okay,
to the
yeah,
15
this is definitely my favorite
Luckily,
level
one of the
in the
goons that
game.
took Rioichi's
It has
cane
even my
dropped off
favorite
one of
ancestor
the
as
old
well.
sheriff's
Mm-hmm.
badge. Bentley
And it has
eventually found out where
arguably
he was from.
one of the better
Now,
villains,
it all
I'll
made
say.
sense.
But
After
okay,
sanctioning
I might as
Bentley
well
was able to
touch base
calibrate
on
the time machine.
how the time travel in this
As
is
we prepared to make the jump
kinda
to the west,
lame. Like,
I found
again,
myself wondering
instead of
how
it being a
Armageddon was
simple
doing.
time travel plot, you need an artifact to travel to a certain world. Okay. Problem is, like Teal mentioned, as a result, you need sometimes very convenient things because the way the time travel goes in this game, it's not just a simple, oh, we're going back and back in time. No, we're hopping up over in points of time, which means that in order for something that's, more so in the future to come up, you need it to somehow show up conveniently, like the mooks dropping it, which means the bad guy literally would have won if it wasn't for a very, very contrived plot.
Not just that, Jova, it comes to a point where, it happens very casually. We just happen to have the right catalyst at the right time.
And that's not even the most baffling thing about it yet.
Compared to other time travel stories, this is relatively still tame. Because again, we're not even touching stuff like how the location of time travel matters instead of just the time period, but it's still much like a lot of time travel stories. It has those cracks that the moment you start noticing them, make the entire thing crumble when you get down
and trust
to it.
me, it gets worse, but I will save that for later. For now,
see you for the next part where we travel to the Wild West.
See you then.
Yeah.
See ya.